Good afternoon, everyone. Hope things are well. Hope you are doing well. Interesting transfer news coming out this morning on TNT Sport. Now, I'm very vocal on this. I never like to promote these type of transfer links. I never like to talk about these sort of situations or scenarios because I just don't believe these reports. However, in this particular case, I feel like it's interesting to make a video on it because it's quite an interesting offer, and it's someone where I think Newcastle could see an offer like this in reality, where it's a player like an Isak, a Bruno, a Gordon. There's a football team out there that wants to basically buy up one of our big players, but they can't afford to buy one of our big players up. So instead of putting money down, they put assets down, they put players down. And this is a real interesting one from PSG because, according to TNT Sport, let's have a look. So they've quoted it from RNC Sport, which is basically a big French media company. So they're saying that PSG are preparing to offer Marco Asensio, Randall Kolomunani, and Gonzalo Ramos to Newcastle in exchange for Alexander Isak. 3 players for Alexander Isak. And when you say the names of those players, they're 3 top quality players. Now, Munani's currently out on loan at Juventus. Of course, Asensio's out on loan at Aston Villa. And Gonzalo Ramos. These are mega signs for PSG. And while there haven't been players that have worked out at PSG, they are legitimately 3 good players for Isak. But is that worth it? And that's the question of the day. Do you feel like those 3 players are worth one Alexander Isak? It's an interesting question. I'm intrigued to see what you guys think. But as always from me, if you're new around here, make sure to get down there, hit that subscribe button, smash the like button if you enjoy. Now, when I first seen this transfer link come out, it sounds quite good. Now, when I first seen it, without kind of looking into the players, I kind of looked at it and went, well, they're quality players. I know they're good players. And I kind of looked at it and went, well, 3 for the price of 1? Is that decent? But the reality is the value of the players. Now, PSG has spent a lot of money on 2 of the players, but the value of the players still probably isn't what Newcastle's looking for. Now, Marco Asensio, he's valued at 20 million euros. Nobody's ever spent more than £3 million in the guy. He went from Real Madrid to PSG on a free. Of course, he's on loan at Aston Villa now. But nobody's actually ever spent any real money on him, even though Asensio's a quality player, like seriously a top quality player. But he's valued at around £16 million. Gonzalo Ramos is valued at 65 million euros, so £50 million for him. Of course, big signing from Benfica. He was a player Newcastle was previously linked to, I think, when the takeover first happened, the likes of him, Darwin Núñez, the sort of links that are going around. It was one of the Portuguese clubs. I might have got them mixed up in terms of what club Ramos came from, but of course, one of the Portuguese clubs. He's went across to PSG. Just again, it hasn't quite worked out, but we know he's a good player. And PSG's big mega signing, Kolomunani. This is a guy that got from Dortmund for 95 million euros, so you were equivalent that to 76 million pounds. So when you put the 3 of those players together, it probably is valued at around 140 to 150 million pounds, which is actually the valuation Newcastle United has on Alexander Isak. We want 150 million pounds minimum, and that's just minimum as well. It's actually hardly possible. Newcastle want upwards of 200 million for him, which is, you're talking a world record fee for a striker. Now, when I've looked at this, at first it sounds like a good deal, but the more I think about it, that's not a great deal because you've got to take the wages into account. Not to mention 3 separate agent fees. 1 agent, 2 agent, 3 agents. We've got to have 3 separate agents that are happy with all of those players coming to Newcastle. Not to mention their wages. There'll be mega wages. And on top of that, how the hell do we fit these 3 in? 2 of them are strikers. Asensio's either a winger or he's an attacking midfielder. I think Asensio probably could play out on the right. I think it's not his natural position, but he probably could potentially switch him out there for Murphy. And then, of course, one of the strikers you have up front. But we couldn't start both strikers. We couldn't start the pair of them. So it's almost like 3 players that are good, yes, but the 3 players that just don't fit in Newcastle. They don't work in Newcastle's system. And there's players that are kind of just shoved into the team for the sake of shoving them in. Whereas Newcastle, if we were to sell Isak in the summer, hard cash is the ideal scenario because 150 plus million pounds, not to mention profit sales as well. So that 150 plus million pounds would then be actually be allowed to spend more money because of the fact it's a huge profit sale. And you're talking, honestly, you're talking over £200 million you can just spend on players because of that huge sale in Isak. Now, the issue with Isak being, I think he's irreplaceable. I legit don't think you can replace him for anyone. And as good as an offer like that may seem on first glance, the more I think about it, the more I don't like the offer. So it's kind of like, it's kind of like an interesting one to talk about, because I think Newcastle could be in a scenario like this where a team hasn't got money available, but they're desperate to bring in a top level player from us. So they just chuck players at us, and just hope that something happens. And those three PSG players are actually good. Honestly, I would actually take them at Newcastle. I think they are good players, but again, they just don't fit what we have. Two unbelievable strikers, yes, but again, how would you fit them in? One would be unhappy the other one starting, and that's not mentioned. Do these players even want to play for Newcastle? Do they want to join Newcastle? Do they want to be a part of this football club? If they're just here because they're being taught to be here, then again, that's not beneficial for us. We want players that care about this badge. We want players that are going to give 100%. And we want players that are going to stick it in for this football club, are going to graft their asses off, and in games such as that cup final next week, are going to give 100% and are just going to play for the badge. And we want players that do that, not mercenaries, or not players that are just here because they're getting paid to be here. Like, we don't want that. We don't want that. And it's an interesting report, this one, because again, it's not really something you tend to see an awful lot in football. But when Newcastle have such high valuations in our players, we are well, not a selling club, I would say at the minute. I don't think we will be a selling club, and it's only if a player either wants to move to a massive club, or it's a case where Newcastle under this PSR rubbish has to sell players. But Newcastle sold well recently. Obviously, Coleman-Ani's at Juventus now. We sold Lloyd Kelly to Juventus. That's a £25 million deal that we just got for one of our fringe players, a player that doesn't even play for Newcastle. So we are a good selling club. We've sold well, and we don't need to sell. That's the situation now. We don't even need to sell. So we can have this conversation now. We can talk through all these scenarios of what player we want. The reality is, we don't need to sell. We don't have a reason to sell. We've got money available we can spend in the summer. Why sell on what we can build on what we have? And that's Newcastle's mentality. And players like Isak, unless you're talking big money coming down, unless Newcastle gets the hard cash, I don't think we'll sell. I don't think we'll accept a deal like that. I think we need the money up front. And if the money's not up front, it's a case where we're being offered players, unless the players are of amazing value, which, to be fair to them, decent value, but probably not what Newcastle's wanting. Again, we just don't need to do that deal. Doesn't benefit us. It's not really any concern for us. It's like want to go to PSG. We don't know. Again, PSG's not quite the club they were a few years ago, albeit they're still a very good team. But again, Newcastle just don't need to do it. It's that simple. And I kind of want to just come out with this video today and just to make the obvious point that, of course, with these sort of transfer reports, just don't look too much into them. I don't think it's that realistic. I don't think it's that believable either. But it was interesting. It is a fascinating one. What would you do in this situation? Would you be happy with those three players if it meant PSG then, on top of that, put an extra £50 million down? Do you think it would be good if PSG was to up the value a bit? Would you think that's reasonable? Or are you just someone that's absolutely no, we do not sell Isak at all? And that's my mentality, because my God, we are bad without him. Look how stinking our attack is without Isak. Honestly, they can't score to save their lives. The players are just so static. Wilson, Murphy, Willock. Oh, they're not good together. They're just not good together at all. And again, you realise when Isak's not playing how good he is. You just realise straight away. This is us with Isak, and this is us without Isak. It's just the quality level is just so much better when he's in the team. We score goals, we look good in the attack, and when we don't have him, it's just it's just game low, hasn't it? So it's not that good. It's one that I'm perplexed by, because again, that's not the worst offer I've ever seen. It actually isn't that bad. We just need to put a bit more meat in the bone, I feel like. But the actual bone there, it's a solid bone, I guess, is perhaps the wording to come out of that. But again, we'll see what happens over the summer. Obviously, I think Newcastle need to try their best not to sell anyone. We don't need to sell anyone. Unless there is an offer that is too good to turn down, we should not be selling any of our big players in this window. But again, Newcastle will be looking to buy, so we'll see what happens. That's a fascinating one. Let me know your thoughts down below. What would you do? And would you Would you consider the offer if PSG was to up it more? Either put an extra player in there or put more money in there. Would that be an offer you would consider? Because I'm intrigued to see what you guys would say about that. But take care though. We'll see you on the next one. Goodbye for now.